Good evening and welcome back to Midnight Movie Club. In tonight's video, we are going to be talking the possibility of a Dog Soldiers sequel. There's been a lot of news recently with Neil Marshall saying that this is the best time for a sequel. If there was ever a time for a sequel, now is the time. This is the most likely time we've had for a sequel. So there's a lot of noise and a lot of chit chat going about, and a lot of you are probably thinking, why hasn't Midnight Movie Club covered this yet? Well, there's a reason, we'll get to it, but I'm on it now. It's Dog Soldiers. You knew that I had to get involved. So the reason I didn't cover this story like straight away on the dot, because I was reading it and I was thinking, I'm just going to stay up all night, make a big video on this, but I decided against it, wanted to wait a little bit. It was because when this news first dropped, it actually dropped a few weeks back. But it wasn't until the other day that more prolific sites like Bloody Disgusting started reporting it. And I thought the reason that all this chit chat was going on, Neil Marshall, Kevin McKidd having meetings talking about potential sequels, I just thought that they were drumming up a bit of excitement for the 4K release that was dropping digitally. So I didn't really think much of it. I didn't want to get my hopes up. But the more and more I hear online, and every now and then Dog Soldiers will trend with a hashtag on Twitter. So it's just got me thinking that shit, this might actually be happening. So if you don't know already, the news is that Neil Marshall's been saying this is the best time for a sequel. If it was ever going to happen, it's going to happen now. They've got one of the old producers, Steve Figg, I believe his name is. He's involved and he was all about practical effects. If you go back and watch the making of Dog Soldiers, he talks quite a lot in it and he hypes up the practical effects of it all, and he believes that's what horror really needs to go back to. So if he's involved, then yeah, I'm happy. He's one of the original producers. He loves practical effects. He probably lives and breathes Dog Soldiers. You could see the passion in him when he was talking about the project and the making of the film. So if he's on board, Marshall is back to hopefully write and direct, and then Kevin McKidd coming back as Cooper, then that would be amazing. There's even talk of Sean Pertwee coming back, maybe as a producer or something along those lines, because he was actually planned to be part of that original trilogy. Marshall had actually planned Dog Soldiers to be a trilogy, and basically what was going to happen is in the sequel, the Special Forces team show up, they take DNA from the dead werewolves from the first film. I don't think the farmhouse was going to blow up in the original trilogy because there was going to be remains left of the werewolves, the UAFs, and the Special Forces were going to take all of that DNA and kind of grow embryos of their own Dog Soldiers and try come up with like a wolf-human hybrid that they could grow in a test tube. So it's really Weyland-Yutani type stuff, which sounds pretty awesome. It sounds great. And then the second film would be like Cooper and Sarge having to deal with that. Probably a little bit of internal conflict in the army with people backing it and people thinking, no, this is a terrible, terrible idea. And then in the third film, they were actually meant to become Dog Soldiers. Cooper and Sarge were apparently rumoured to actually become werewolves themselves and be fully in on the action and probably be a successful werewolf that the army could control, send out in missions, or just, you know, control their own thought process and help their squad mates. A lot like that one Love, Death, Robots episode with the werewolf soldiers in Afghanistan. I could see it being something like that. That would have been awesome. But in a way, I do like that the trilogy never happened, and that might sound weird, but that first film is just so special to me. That even the talk of a sequel, it gets me excited, but I'm also terrified because I don't want anything to taint that first movie for me. It was a huge part of my life when it first came out back in 2001. I was pretty young, shouldn't have been watching it for the age I was, but my mum and dad were cool and they let me buy the video. It was on tape the first time I bought it, and then I bought it again when it came out in DVD when that became a thing. But yeah, I watched that movie religiously for months. Every Saturday morning I'd wake up early, chuck it on and watch it before everyone else woke up, and yeah, knew the script back to front and talked the whole way through the movie, always explained it, always tried to talk more in depth about it with people than they wanted to, which is a good reason I have this channel now, because there's actually a lot of people out here who are just like me and want to talk about this movie more and really pick it apart. And we've done that with things like the Megan analysis. I've done a why you should watch video. It was one of my first videos. Yeah, and I just love talking about this film and all the tiny little details that kind of just get brushed over and people forget about. But there's a lot of subtext in the movie, a lot of hints to characters' backstories and like the werewolves themselves and just how they work. And you know, like the whole thing with the stew, when they first get to the cottage, Joe and Terry are going nuts for the stew. Terry's the only one who digs in, I believe. He's actually the only one who tastes it and says it tastes like pork. And pork, as you all know, is apparently meant to be the closest thing to human. Don't quote me on that, but so you can kind of get a little sense that, yeah, you might not pick that up on first viewing, but if you look into it and read into it a little bit more, holy shit, these people aren't just, they aren't just poor souls who turn into werewolves once a month when the moon is full, go out and hunt and they're cursed and they feel bad about it. Nah, they've probably took a leg from the basement, from one of the dead bodies in the basement, chopped it up in the kitchen, and chucked it in their stew. So yeah, they're not the poor souls everyone would think. So yeah, just little things like that, read into the subtext, go back and watch it again. It's out on 4K now, we have an excuse to watch it again. Yeah, definitely check it out one more time. And that'll hype you up even more for a sequel. And I just want to talk a little bit about a possible sequel. There was talk way back of a sequel with just Cooper following on from the first one. He's in a mental asylum. Obviously no one believes that werewolves ate his squad mates, even though there will be a kind of faction of the special forces that know he is telling the truth. They aren't just going to let on that he's telling the truth. They're going to treat him like he's crazy, keep it all covered up. And he's actually, I think he was meant to be in like a military police camp, a military prison type thing like that, in a kind of mental asylum. And I don't know how it was going to get there, but there was going to be a werewolf involved. I don't know how that would work. To me, it always sounded a bit weird, like it was just a sequel someone came up with on Reddit or something. I couldn't see them doing that, but who knows, maybe that is the legit planned sequel. But apparently recently Neil Marshall and Kevin McKidd have been meeting up, have been bashing heads, have been brainstorming ideas for a sequel. And as I said, with Steve Figg now in the fray, possibly Sean Petrie as well, you know, we could really see them all come together to create a sequel that is worthy of the name of Dog Soldiers. Dog Soldiers fresh meat, as much as I wanted it at the time, when I was a kid I would have probably loved it if that film came out. If I go back and read what that film was actually going to be about, you know, Cooper meeting up with this other US team who are just kind of interjected in there. They were not mentioned at all in the first one. It was only Cooper's squad and Ryan's squad. There was no mention of a US team involved in the war games. I think that would have seemed a bit heavy-handed and shoved in your face in there, having to kind of retcon, well not retcon, but just add stuff. I don't like that. And he was obviously going to be treated like he was crazy with the US team, you know. He's just going to look like he's killed his squad and went nuts while they were all training. And then there's not the zombies, the werewolves and Dog Soldiers fresh meat were meant to be the remnants of Ryan's team, the ones who weren't fully devoured, the ones who were just injured or ran off or managed to escape, which seems like a stretch to me as well. I feel like the UAFs took them out pretty convincingly. Yeah, I just don't see anyone surviving that attack, not when, you know, they get to that camp and Terry's stepping in guts and the only one alive is Ryan. I just don't believe that anyone else survived that attack, only Ryan. But yeah, the werewolves and fresh meat were meant to be the remnants of that special forces squad that Ryan was in charge of, and they were actually gonna hunt more like a more specialised unit. You know, there were going to be these wolves that were smarter and faster because they were special forces guys. And I don't know, it just gave me visions of what are these werewolves going to be dropping down from trees, you know, shooting guns. And I know a werewolf, one of the UFs does shoot the shotgun that Joe has in the first film, but that was once, and it was just kind of like a joke in that epic moment of madness when the cottage is under siege, and it just kind of relieves the tension a little bit, and you go, oh, a werewolf shot a shotgun, and then it, you know, we're back to normality. It didn't go too far that way, but I feel the way Fresh Meat was talking, they were going to be full on, you know, combat rolling and fighting, and just, I don't know, it sounded a bit stupid to me, a little bit silly. When I was younger and I heard about Fresh Meat, I was like, yes, I need it, give me it now. But now that I look back on it, Fresh Meat sounded like it could have stepped on the toes of the first one, could have made it too campy. The first one does have campy elements, but the first one just balances dark humour with horror so perfectly that it's a really hard balance to keep. And I felt like Fresh Meat was going to fuck that balance up. And I'm glad it never happened. Yeah, I said it. I'm glad that it never happened. And hopefully now is the perfect time for a Dog Soldiers sequel, a true Dog Soldiers sequel that we can all love and cherish like the first. And one that just adds to this really cool world. Personally, what I would like to see is the second picking up in a little, you know, a little English town somewhere, a little Scottish town, whatever. It's a full moon, we pan down to a pub, there's chatter, we go into the pub, there's Cooper sitting at the end of the bar, beard, beanie hat, big army jacket, looking like a down and out, empty glasses around him, and he's sitting writing or reading something or something like that. He's the odd weird guy you see at your local pub. And he's just became that way over the years, as no one's believing him. His friends, his family have all just shushed him and chucked him aside and disowned him. He's out of work, can't get work because he's a loony. Well, everyone thinks he's a loony, you know. And he leaves the pub, and we follow him. We see him look to the moon with a little bit of nerve in his eye, and he walks home gingerly, but he feels like he's being followed. And then when he gets home, we see the inside his house. It's a tip, you know, there's research papers everywhere, kind of like Bryan Cranston's character in Godzilla 2016, yeah. You know, he's a complete nutty conspiracy theorist. That's what he looks like on the outside anyway. And he's trying to prove the existence of werewolves, you know, lycanthropes. He's trying to contact people from Megan's past, look into her past, you know, all that. And then either that night or the next day or whatever, there's a knock at the door, and I've got two possibilities for who that knock at the door could be. While I go with number one, which is full on Aliens ripoff, it is the army, it's the special forces, it's a Burke type character. They're like, you're the only one that's seen these things, dealt with them, we need you back to come liaise with a special forces team as we've found a new family, a new pack. And we're going to destroy them, but you know, it's the army. They don't want to destroy them, they want to bring them back, research them, all that good stuff. You go full aliens, you just admit it. You know, we're doing aliens, but with werewolves, Cooper, and in the Dog Soldiers universe. And I think that would work. I think it's playing it safe maybe, but I think it would work. Possibility number two I've got in my head. And Neil, or Kevin, Sean, any's involved watching this video, just give us a wee call, give us a comment or something. I'm happy to discuss, brainstorm. I'll write the movie if you want me to. I'll serve the coffee on set, I don't care, I'll do whatever. But behind door number two, he opens the door and there's a camera crew in front of him, a sort of like, you know, Vice kind of documentary crew there. And the first kid says to him, it's like uni kids, you know, and the first kid says to him, I'm Megan's brother. You know, and he's like, I've finally tracked you down and I want to know what happened to my sister when she went to the Highlands of Scotland. I want to return there with my crew, do a documentary on what's going on up there. You know, he's a believer, but he hasn't seen anything, but he knows Cooper's been through it. I don't know how yet, but we'll figure it out. And Cooper would head back up to the Highlands with them, this, you know, young uni documentary type crew. So they'd be a bit more underarmed, underprepared, you know. Cooper would think that, you know, all the werewolves are wiped out, but he still wants to shine light on what happened and what could be out there lurking in the shadows. So he thinks this is a good opportunity to get his story out and just his version of things. So he goes with them, and I feel like that, and you know, there would be a werewolf running about. Obviously, there's got to be someone left over, you know, a UAF family member somewhere who was away on holiday to Benidorm at the time, you know. Something like that. Someone turns up, there's a werewolf, and it all unravels. But yeah, Neil, when we meet up, we can talk more about that. But you know, we'll see. So yeah, right now I feel that we all just need to watch this space, keep our heads. You know, this could all just be paper talk, but it is intriguing. You can't deny it, and you know, we could see a Dog Soldiers sequel possibly in the next couple of years. And I'd just love to know what you would all make of that and what you would all personally like to see in the comment section down below. So yeah, get talking down there, we'll have a wee chat. I hope you like this face-to-face kind of different format. Let me know. Just sitting on a beanbag in my living room. And it's a nice change to not just be in front of a computer with a script. I actually feel like I'm talking to people for once. So let me know, would you like more videos like this? More long-winded, unscripted, kind of just babbling, having a discussion ones. I'm enjoying it. I hope you guys are too. And if you did enjoy this video, please do give it a like. And if you haven't already, then hit that subscribe button to join the club. No parting thoughts. I think I've said it all. As always, thank you very much for watching, and good night.